All right, good morning, bows and bow ties. This is the Black Opinionated woman, also known as a bow. So I was trying to do this video for the last couple of days, and it was supposed to be like a little short, like maybe a few minutes. Why is this doing this? I don't like that. Oh my gosh. This is the whole situation. I don't know what's wrong with StreamYard, but StreamYard is acting all the way out. So we're going to go with this. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that there appears to be a paradigm shift. Appears to be a paradigm shift in the type of content that these podcast bros are putting out. Now, I didn't ask for this. Well, I did actually. I did say, hey, we need to put out different content, all this other stuff. But I I didn't ask for it in my feed. It started showing up. And I mean, I guess because they know that I'm a blackity black or something, right? So they're like, you're gonna feed her all the black feed stuff. But it was really interesting because there appears to be some sort of, I don't know if this is I'm looking for the word and it's like on the tip of my tongue. There's a word I'm looking for, but there appears to be a paradigm shift happening. So we know logically that there are people out there speaking with some sense, right? But they're not excuse me, they're not typically promoted on these platforms. But now there appears to be this shift where we're seeing this hunger, this thirst for something different. So now we're seeing these podcast bros who look like me. There is this shift. They are speaking now like there there appears to be a thirst for something more intellectual. There appears to be, well, there's two things. One, there appears to be a shift in that we need, or people are interested in discourse that's something other than the gender war. Okay? So they're willing to talk about other topics. I'm not going to deep dive into that. There are going to be people who can do that much better because they have more time. They have the mental cycles to dedicate to some of these various narratives that are out there. But two, within the conversations that are centered around the gender war, there appears to be this push for understanding. Now, they haven't named it this, right? They haven't called it data science, but there's like this push for understanding the facts. There's this push for understanding the statistics, right? Many people get out here on the internet and they'll come up with a statistic and they don't understand how stats work. Most of us who've taken a stats class in college understand that you can prove and disprove anything with the statistics. You got to understand what the controls are. That's not the word I want to use. What is your sample size? When they run these surveys or whatever like that, a social scientist will tell you like, okay, like what was the control, like what were the conditions or the criteria. So oftentimes, for example, you'll see men who look like me. They will spit out the stat. I believe it was 70%. 70% of men, of black men, are considered great fathers or spend time with their children. I forgot what the stat was, and they have no clue that what does it mean by saying that they spent time. Like there's so many things that go into that, right? And I forgot what the stat was, so I don't want to speak too crazy on it, but just understanding like, okay, well, what does it mean by saying you're spending time? What does it mean by like all these things, right? But they have these stats out there, and then they glob onto it, and then they're like, yeah, yeah, and they're beating your chest, like. So I was just kind of like, okay, that's why I kept telling people we need to get off of these podcasts because there is this war on intellectualism. Is like I remember a couple of years back. I think I did a video and I was talking about like we have to start normalizing like some of the weirdos, like people who watch Star Trek and stuff like that, people who were interested in the real data, the real science behind things, people who wanted to talk about something else, people who wanted to dream about the possibilities, right? People who wanted to dedicate more mental cycles into um, solving these other problems, etc. Right? Oh gosh, I wish I could remember what I called that video. I think I was sitting on my porch in that video, and I hope I didn't delete it because every once in a while I go through and I'll just delete random videos. Um, yeah. So anyway, there appears to be this paradigm shift. Suddenly the likes of a Deante Kyle. He's the main guy on the Grits and Eggs podcast. You've got Marc Lamont Hill, Dr. Marc Lamont Hill, on the Joe Budden podcast, trying to talk some sense into a bunch of people who, quite frankly, just give secondhand embarrassment. Now, I don't watch the podcast. I have received clips in my timeline, right? And now I can't escape it. But I was like, okay, well, let me actually put that in my feed for a period of time and see what they're talking about. Like all this noise. Now, it could just be that maybe I'm thinking more of it, but there appears to be this paradigm shift. You've always had Themis and Thoth. I can never pronounce it right. Themis and Thoth. I can't remember now. I've actually stopped subscribing to him for some period of time only because his his videos are so long, and I think I have ADD, and it would take me forever to get through a video, and that's just because I did not have the cycle to sit down for hours and hours and hours trying to decipher some of his long videos. Um, like I said, I normally don't do a whole lot of like name dropping of people or anything like that, just because I like to let everybody have their own space. I don't have low self esteem or anything like that. I I'm quite comfortable in where I am because I know I don't put a whole lot of cycles into developing my channel, so the results are what they are. However, what I want to say is I'm just seeing, and it could be based off of what I think I'm being fed. Um, there is this push for something else. People want to hear something else. I think the people are tired of the weirdo gender war and the men who look like me going on these lack of accountability tours, if you ask me, right? Because I'm like, everything that they were doing, I'm like, but how is that working out for you? You are the poorest performing in every category. So I think there are people who are having these aha moments. I remember when, let me just say this. This is how I am liking it, and it may not be a fair comparison, but I want you to listen, lean in for a second. When I was going through my master's program, I remember, and I'm probably going to butcher this a little bit. I remember, true story. I remember going to my class. I was living in Europe at the time, and I was in class, and the professor comes in and starts talking. Now, you know how like you get to class a few minutes beforehand, it's like 5, 10 minutes beforehand, and like we're just all engaging in small talk. The professor came in and starts talking. He was just like yipping and yapping and yapping, like yip yap. I mean, yammering. But it took about a minute or so for us talking. And in the middle of him talking, we all leaned in. So we're like, what is he saying? And basically what he did was he was saying like, hi, I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. And my father was a pastor. He was a pastor of a really small church. And, he grew up very religious. So he went on and on and talked about his childhood, and we were like, where is he going with this? And then he starts saying, like, and so during my childhood, I grew up learning that Black people were lazy and commit a lot of crimes, and stuff like that. He said, that's what I learned. So, my spidey senses are going off, and I'm like leaning in, like, bro, like, oh, what? Am I going to have words with everybody in this class? Because, I was the token. And in the class, he's having these conversations. So now you got the people who are looking at me like, oh, because no one knew how to handle it. But I don't know why I was compelled to listen to his entire story. He like leaned in too, and I wanted to like go there. So I was, how old was I? Yeah, I was definitely young. Was it 23? I don't remember. Maybe I was 22 or 23. I can't remember. So he starts going on and on, talking about black people. I'm like, okay, like he can get it. And then he said, but then I went to college. And lo and behold, my roommate was this black guy. And then he said, everything that I learned was not what I experienced. He was like, the guy that was my roommate was like smart. He was so ambitious. He was taking care of things, whatever it was. He was like really busy. And he went to this whole like soliloquy on this guy. He said this guy ended up being my best friend to this like really good friend to this day. He said what I learned growing up based off of mores and values and what I experienced was different. And so he's like, that was like where your ethics kick in. He started talking about this difference between mores and everything. Those things are taught, those things are learned. You get your foundation maybe from the Bible, from science, whatever you get your moral foundation from. And then your ethics are your personal experiences, those things that you've learned, those things that you've lived. And I know this was a long way to circle back to where I'm going, was I feel like with this shift in these podcast bros, and what appears to be promoted, at least to me, that ethics are starting to kick in with some of these individuals. Because it took multiple people pointing it out, but when it took men who looked like them saying, wait a second, wait a second, wait a second. Everybody's been trying to tell us, but now we're going to tell us. Like, they're starting to check themselves. They're starting to really be introspective, and their experiences, their lived experiences now are different than what the narratives that have been pushed onto them. That is what I think I'm seeing. And it's really interesting to be a witness right now, this paradigm shift and the kind of podcast bros that are now making it to into our spaces, into our timelines. Now, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But I'm just telling you what it appears like is happening, and why you're seeing like these podcast bros. I don't want to say blow up, but they're starting to have some sort of viral sensation around them. Like it's like bubbling, like a geyser, like it's just bubbling, it's simmering, waiting to boom, right? That's what I think I'm seeing. Now, I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. I'm going to be wrong again. But this is what I believe I'm witnessing in real time, which is great. Because at the end of the day, you have those things that are taught to you, that you've learned, and then there's those things that you experience that challenges your moral foundation. I'm sorry about what's happening with the way this is presenting right now. This is a whole situation. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. I think I'm seeing something happening in real time, and I like it because it was just out of control. I was like, y'all better get off of these podcasts. Like, they're taking like stats and just running amok, and like people were incapable of doing any form of thinking, any form of it. They were just being fed in, and then they were acting like lemmings, like just walking off a cliff because some guy came out here with a couple of muscles or something, or had a deeper voice and just started barking orders at people, and people were willing to just go walking to the line of fire. I was like, how embarrassing for you. Well, hopefully this is a true paradigm shift in thought. um Hopefully we're starting to see people wake up, like finally wake up, because it was just, it's so embarrassing. Like I say, like oftentimes, like when I see the shenanigans, I just try to keep it out of my feed as much as possible. When you consume bad stuff, you become rotten. Like I was just like, no. And then I go back to like, hey, do I have any videos from the lions? What's going on in Serengeti? You guys know I like to watch videos of like the animals in Africa. And I watch other things too, like little brain teaser videos. But I don't like to put that kind of negative content into my feed. This was supposed to be a short video, and this is already over 15 minutes. So this is when I have my call to action. Like if you like this content, this would be a good time to go ahead and subscribe. Just subscribe and then let me know your thoughts. Like let me know if you liked the kind of video that I put out. Now look, I am a hot mess. I'm gonna put out videos when I put them out. I don't always speak to everything that's in like that's trending, because a lot of it's not even that interesting to me, which is why I'm such a small channel, because I just don't have it in me to talk about some of the stupid stuff. For example, you know what I don't want to talk about, and I feel like I'm just not that interested? That Diddy trial. Yeah, I'm like, just let me know what the end result is. Everyone has all these updates every day. I don't care. I just don't. Like, I mean, I want to see justice for whoever needs justice, but I don't want to talk about it. I don't care. So that's why I'm not trending. Now, it doesn't mean tomorrow I won't change my mind. I can do that. I'm grown. But that's one of the things that you're not going to really see me talk about, because for the most part, I don't really care. All right. That's pretty much it. Leave a comment. Go ahead and subscribe. Go back and watch all of my videos, every single last one of them, because every single one of them are amazing. Even with my bootleg orientation going on right now. All right. Have a good one.